we are talking about anime girls on the internet becoming the center of everyone's attention in the streaming universe. I'm Daly, and I have a master's degree in anime. I told you.
I'm Robert, and I'm a VTuber now, desu. Ore wa Robert desu.
I would just say, Daly, that both you and I... Hi, I'm Colin Sparling, by the way. Both you and I have pretty much the same degree, and it might as well be as make-believe as an anime degree.
I mean, all my classes focused on the, study and research of anime and its animators and the timeline in which anime came to America and steadily took over the common consciousness. You took that class with me, right? About the common consciousness, about how anime
of
has
course
become ubiquitous in everyone's minds. You can't stop thinking about anime girls.
It was taught by Robert, not you, Robert Smith.
Me? Oh, so we're just naming people now on the internet.
Robert Smith Sensei, yes.
Wait,
Smith
Robert
Sensei was
Smith
very
is the lead singer
insightful.
of The Cure.
Yeah, he actually did teach it. He was like, Friday.
Yeah, it was.
He said his first lecture was, Friday, I'm in love with anime. So let's talk about anime this week.
I was just trying to think of like a
Robert
Joe
Smith's
Schmo name, and I
Sensei.
came up with the lead singer of The Cure.
It is still like a pretty common name, but Smith Sensei, yeah. He had this one lecture that really stuck with me about 3D coming into the 2D and how that's going to continue to change anime as we know it. There's a lot of series that have benefited from 3D and a lot that have suffered. You see, anyway. But the more
at this point, I don't even know if it's a joke because higher education is like
keep going.
It's equally like let's learn about physics and how the universe came to be, but also let's learn about Harry Potter and how that the world exists within Harry Potter and how it's proliferated throughout, etc., etc.
See,
there
you
are
say
these
that,
classes.
but I have a friend that was literally in a Harry Potter class.
Exactly.
Legitimately.
I know there's a Potter class. I know colleges play Quidditch without the brooms.
Well,
with
wait,
the
they still use the brooms.
Well,
but
they just can't fly.
They're not flying brooms. Yeah, if they can't
just
fly,
soccer.
it's
It's
not
just fucking
Quidditch.
soccer with brooms.
It's just quesadilla. Also, we should
I
probably say...
was about to celebrate your progress to say Quidditch instead of quesadilla.
I forgot about that fucking in-joke.
We should probably say, hello, well, this is everything in Poderation.
Yeah, when we're being too much, but usually our topic is when the internet can get to be a bit too much.
Also, we need to do an episode about quesadillas.
Apparently, the sport has become very popular in the collegiate scene, and Taco Bell is just always killing it. So.
Yeah, and ever since Nintendo came out with the Golden Switch, I hear that's really revolutionized the game.
What if that's what they call the next Switch? That would be amazing.
It'd be better than new Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
Oh,
Agreed.
God.
Agreed. So, y'all ever get on Twitch? Y'all ever watch those streamers doing streaming things?
Every once in a while, sometimes.
Do you ever wish that the streamers were a little less 3D and more 2D?
Yes. I'm going to play along with this bit. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
I've always wanted 2D. I wanted like Guts from Berserk to play like Dark Souls. I feel like that would be shit. Okay, TM, that's an idea I'm going to do.
TM. That's how that works. If you just shout TM at the end of the idea, you now own it.
I'm just saying.
I want to watch. Yeah. Guts from Berserk. I want Kazuma Kiryu to be playing, I don't know, anything.
Yakuza.
TM. Now it's mine.
Yeah,
so I'll be doing that over on twitch.com.
Like VTuber, it's twitch.tv. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I want people to go to twitch.com.
You're starting your own site.
Yes.
I'm just saying, hey, VTubers out there, make a Guts avatar, play Dark Souls.
There you go. Free money.
Do
Make
it.
money, profit.
Free money. Money. Robert will let you have this idea for a small fee. But this is no small thing. Genuinely, people are making a lot of money as VTubers, as these virtual YouTubers that are embodying typically an anime avatar with some kind of face mapping or mocap suit and doing gameplays or just chatting or drawing or doing any number of things that, regular quote unquote human quote unquote streamers do. It kind of started with Kizuna Ai, who was the first, like, she's a virtual YouTuber. She's a totally made up persona that's voiced by someone that wasn't revealed until much later, that does gameplays and reactions and is really adorable when she says motherfucker.
Yeah, she's only says fuck a lot, right?
Fuck.
Fuck you.
And of course, fuck you. Let me go check out my FAQ. I mean, fuck you. Cute stuff. Didn't really catch on at the time. I mean, that was out like 2013, 2014. Like, I've seen some elder Kizuna Ai merch.
I thought that was around 2016, right? The first Kizuna Ai video.
What is time?
I know.
What year is it?
November 2016, actually. So around the time started being weird.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It feels so long ago. But and you know, she's an idol character, so kind of went along with that. And then more and more people started making their own avatars to be virtual YouTubers, and then it has hugely proliferated into the idea of like this idol culture where there's agencies that manage these you know, VTubers who are in and of themselves like virtual idols. And like the main ones would be like Hololive and Nichi Sanji, and there's a lot of girls with a lot of different gimmicks, a lot of different appeals. There's really something for everyone. And a more recent development is that there are English-speaking VTubers, especially from Hololive. That was a really big deal, and they've gained a huge amount of popularity. So this is no longer really a super otaku subculture thing. This is becoming way more mainstream.
Yeah, so this whole VTubers thing, this is one of those episodes of the show where this was an idea that was proposed that I honestly, going into this, didn't know anything about. Like, I didn't really know much about this at all. I might have seen it in passing, but just didn't really pay much attention to it. So like when I heard VTubers and things like that, like my mind instantly went to like Hatsune Miku and things like that, or like kind of like virtual idols that people really liked and things like that. And I guess it's, in a sense, it's a little bit similar, but not quite. And so I don't know, this is something entirely new to me. I will say though, real quick as a side note, when you punch VTubers in, like the phrase VTubers into YouTube, it actually brings up a channel called literally VTubers, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about in this episode. It's a fucking streamer, like a children's content, and it's this kid who plays, I think, Roblox with his parents, but then they play VTuber characters. They play virtual characters, but it's not like VTubers in the sense that we're talking about in this episode. So, and they have like 2 million subscribers. So just would like to make that delineation in case anyone else stumbles upon that doesn't know about this.
That is not, yeah. We're more talking along the lines of like the cutesy anime girl ones.
Mm-hmm. And I think, so with Hatsune Miku, right? Like, I wouldn't classify her as an early VTuber. I think she was more of like a Vocaloid, right? I think that's what most people would classify her, and a lot of the other folks around that, like, because they're Hatsune Miku, there's no real person that's in real time, you know, underneath the mask, right? It's all kind of programmed anime dancing, anime singing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This
almost
is all
corporate as compared to this very like indie.
Yeah, like this is all software. It's like grassroots, right? Like coming up from down under. Well, not Australia, but you know,
Australia is the source of all VTubers.
Yeah, Japan is just the province of Australia, right? Do they call it provinces? I don't know.
I mean, Australia isn't fucking real.
Australia.
So. Yeah, it comes from below. It's trickle up anime weebonomics.
Anime weebonomics. I took that class as well in my over at the University of Washington when I got my master's degree in anime weebonomics.
Mm-hmm. Mastered weebonomics.
But you might be thinking at this point, if you're not familiar with this subject, well, how is this any different from regular streamers. Just the regular people that put their own faces in the corner of the screen while they're playing, Phasmophobia or Among Us or whatever else. Minecraft. There's a lot of Minecraft. There's a lot of Minecraft streamers. There's a lot of VTubers streaming Minecraft. And I think it's less to do with the fact that it is like a persona, like an anime girl or like this specific gimmick, and more the idea of like you're allowed to be like over the top and like almost what today we would call like cringy, and more, I guess, wholesome about it. It feels like, to quote prime YouTuber, not a VTuber, but a YouTuber, Mother's Basement, it has more of an after school moe club vibe versus just like gaming with your buddies.
Yeah. So I think Colin and I watched that video too. And I think what I walked away from it thinking, and it really helped shape how I see VTubers, because full disclosure, I'm not someone who normally watches VTubers. It's not really my thing, even though I really like anime, right? And I think for many people, VTubers feels like the next, I don't want to say evolution, because it sounds like that's the future of anime, but it's like the next thing for anime people to get into, I feel like. And now I get it a little more, because one of the early animes I really liked after I started like diving into it like almost 10 years ago, because I'm an old fuck, was K-On! And to this day, I can't think of any other way to describe K-On! That doesn't make it sound boring. Yeah, if you don't know K-On!, it's just a bunch of high school girls who start an after school band and they just play light rock music. And that's it. There's no real conflict. There's no real hardship. It's just cute girls doing cute things, which you probably hear a lot. And I liked it a lot for some reason. And it was just soothing for the soul.
A lot of people like it. Yeah. It's very popular.
Yeah. And it was so different to me from all the like the Bleach and Dragon Ball and that sort of, and Full Metal, that sort of stuff that I've been watching. And I feel like VTubers today are tapping into that same feeling of there is no real quote unquote interesting thing going on here. There's no conflict, there's no storyline, there's no plot. It's just cute girls literally doing cute things right now. And those cute things happen to be playing Minecraft with their friends, or reading stuff that fans send into them and saying fuck a lot, or like fucking ranking their own lewd fan art. You know?
God. Yes. Yeah. There's I was about to say wholesome. I don't know if ranking lewd fan art exactly counts as wholesome, but it's the general vibe. The general vibe is the moe is the wholesomeness there.
Yeah, I think the most interesting aspect, and also, yeah, shout out to Mother's Basement and also Guguk, because they summarized this whole VTuber thing like pretty well. Like, it got me up to speed, and me who like I haven't followed this trend at all, so that really helped me out to give me an understanding of what the hell exactly this thing is. So my takeaway was it's another take on the whole parasocial relationship that happens between, a streamer and its audience, but the whole virtual aspect adds the whole, like, it's playing a character, but also the point that they were making was something along the lines of, it appeals to more like introverted people or people that don't necessarily want to be in front of a camera or would rather be, anonymous. I don't know. It's very low consequence.
Yeah.
And that I understand, and I can kind of see the appeal. And so I don't know. I'm interested, like Robert said at the beginning, like the kind of psychological thing behind all of this, because obviously it's a big thing right now that's taking the internet by storm, and a lot of these VTubers are making a shitload of money and have pretty big audiences. So they're doing something right.
Yeah.
7 of the top 10 VChats in August, like reported in August 2020, 7 of the top 10 super chats on YouTube, which is like a live stream, but I'm going to throw money at you to make my message look a little prettier. 7 of the top 10 were VTubers.
These girls making cash. They're making money. And it's interesting that you use the word inconsequential or non-consequential. I forget what you said exactly, Colin, but that is the way it strikes me, as like it's very much idol culture, where it's like you're encouraged to like feel dedicated and be a really big fan of this one specific girl, but it feels less problematic because that one specific girl that you are dedicating so much time and energy to isn't necessarily real in the same sense that your run-of-the-mill female streamer would be. Mm-hmm. So it feels less problematic, less creepy, less like stalker-ish to quote unquote like simp after them, as opposed to a real person like, say, like Pokimane, who I know is really big in streaming, and it was part of the whole reason that the word simp is literally banned on twitch.tv, but not on twitch.com, which I own, right. Apparently.
Wait, back up. The word simp is banned?
The word simp is banned on twitch.tv.
I must have missed this, because that's wild.
Do you feel personally attacked, Colin?
Absolutely.
That your
I want everyone simping
banned.
In my chat over me if I Twitch streamed.
That was the thing. It was just people calling each other simps that it got to the point where Twitch was like, okay, we can't trust you guys to be responsible with this word.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
is simp the Twitch equivalent of a Karen?
What?
No,
because I wouldn't say that simp has gotten the same bad connotations.
Because Karens want to see the manager. Simps want the manager to step on them.
Yeah. We more often use the word simp as a verb, I think, in terms of like with the new Resident Evil villainess
Lady Dimitrescu.
wanting, people are simping after her when they're like, please step on me and let me see your big mommy milkers.
Oh, and by the way, canonically, she is 9'6".
She's 9 foot tall.
I love that statement. Just a quick side note here. I love how the Resident Evil art director was like, we really, really appreciate all this outpouring of support. Just so you know, and it's in bold. She's 9'6", you motherfuckers.
There was a lot of speculation. People were doing math and trying to figure that out. And that's okay to do after a fictional character, I think. But it would be really creepy if this was a real woman and people are like, let's do the math. How tall is she?
It does kind of tie into our current discussion, though, because it has to do with kind of leaning into the whole simp market. Like, you have a VTuber who is ranking their own loot art. And it's like, the thing is, when you give a fan base, like you present an IP, right? They're going to take it and run with it in any way that they want. And some of that is loot art. And if you remember, like the whole Overwatch thing, they're like, guys, stop making porn. It's like, what happens? Now there's way more porn than anyone can ever conceive about Overwatch, because they said don't do it. They're like, oh, does that mean do it?
If I'm Resident porn before the game came out.
Yeah, if I'm the Resident Evil devs, I'm just like, guys, it's going to happen anyway. So you might as well lean into it. If anything, that's just going to give you more good publicity and people will buy more of your games.
If I remember right, it wasn't like the year Overwatch came out when Pornhub released their stats. Overwatch was like one of the top searched things on Pornhub.
It was Tracer and Widowmaker was like the big deal.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing, dude, is math doesn't care about your feelings. Stats are going to come out.
Yeah, horniness doesn't care about numbers. Your feelings.
Apparently not.
No,
but to bring us back to VTubers, though, something I did want to say where I feel like this is kind of encapsulating all the things we're saying here is, and this is something I also see a lot in people who discuss VTubers from a non-simping perspective. A lot of this is like kayfabe. It's believing in the fantasy, right? Like Korone-chan is a dog girl. I mean, like, obviously, logically, yes, there is a human being under there pretending to be a dog girl, and maybe that's kind of a little weird. Like, if you were just sitting next to the real person and just watching them do it, it'd be like, that's kind of weird that you're doing that, but whatever, you do you. I don't kink shame. But when you watch it via Twitch or when you watch it on YouTube and all you're interfacing with is this cute dog anime girl avatar, you're in it now, and you're in this world. You're sharing this world with her and with her many, many fans who are watching it with you. I came across this write-up by a senior design strategist at Google named Devin Mancuso. And he wrote this piece on virtual humans called The Rise of VTubers on Social Media Influencers Explained. And in it, he kind of laid out that he's noticed two rules that kind of govern VTubers, especially on YouTube, and Twitch as well. For the VTuber, always stay in character. Korone-chan is a dog girl. It's not a girl pretending to be a dog girl. Korone-chan is a dog girl. And then for the viewers, it's to play along. And even if someone new shows up in the chat who's like, I don't get it, what's going on here, I'm scared, help.
Why does she have ears? Why is she barking?
Yeah, why is she saying fuck you? But for the new folks, they're usually treated very kindly and kind of coddled by the veterans of the community who kind of help welcome them in. Yeah. I was getting weirder and weirder.
Veterans in this context. It's just so funny.
Yeah. And they're kind of, they learn the lingo, they learn the culture, right? And one thing he wrote, that Mr. Mancuso here wrote, that stuck with me was, quote, when both sides fulfill their end of the contract and emotional fidelity is achieved, that is incredibly captivating for the audience.
So we're all kind of playing this game together and being nice about it, because I know Twitch chat as a whole just usually has the reputation of being like a very toxic place, and it's like you step out of line, you're gonna get dogpiled on, especially in the case, I guess, if you're an actual dog. But that isn't the case for like Korone-chan's chat, or you have Okayu and like a ton of other VTubers. It's typically a very wholesome place where you're more focused on the streamer than you are on like trying to get one-upped on someone else.
I was thinking too, I was like, I wonder is there a difference between people that are fans of VTubers and people that are fans of regular Twitch streamers, but Twitch streamers that play a character? You know what I'm saying? Is that relationship similar, and how is it different? I know this is a completely different example, but the first example that it came off my head was Dr. Disrespect. Obviously, that's a character.
It's a character streamer,
right.
Yeah.
And so like obviously everyone is for the most part kind of just like playing along with his like over the top character who's like, 80s mullet and military sunglasses, blah blah blah, testosterone. And so I wonder if I'd have to look into it more, how that differs.
Yeah, because I think there is something to be said for the connection there, in terms of, I think that Western audiences have been more normalized toward the idea of character streamers because of the proliferation of character streamers like Dr. Disrespect for like on Twitch, and like Trisha Paytas on YouTube, because guys, she is a character. She's not actually that dumb or terrible.
Wait, is Trisha Paytas is that the girl that Ethan Klein, like Acer podcast with?
I believe they started a podcast together. Yeah.
Frenemies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the same Trisha. Just wanted to make sure.
Same Trisha. Or is she? Because she's a character. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, because she like called Ethan and Hila like a lot of bad names and like said that they're shit parents and blah blah blah. I don't know if that was all supposed to be a character or not, but
I'm sure she says a lot of things.
Yeah.
About a lot of people. Yeah.
I mean, I think regardless of when we're comparing this to more Western character streamers, like especially Dr. Disrespect, I feel like that's a tougher needle to thread. It's a tougher thing to kind of manage, because even though Dr. Disrespect is a character, he is still gonna Twitch stream out of a men's bathroom while people are pissing.
Well, yeah.
I don't think many anime girls who literally need to interface via Twitch stream and software would do the same.
No, definitely not. That was just the first touchstone I had in my head about, because I don't watch Twitch all that much, so I know like the big names, but not so much, like maybe other character streamers.
Right. I mean, I think, to me, I don't really put them in the same bucket, because in my head, when I think of someone who would watch a Dr. Disrespect stream, I think, and if this isn't you, please don't feel offended. This is just where I'm feeling it and vibing it right now. It's someone who is interested in watching a controversial figure. Because, you have to admit, there is a little bit of fun in watching someone who's kind of an asshole, kind of rude. I think the past 4 years in America have taught us that. But, that, I feel like that's the big appeal for Dr. Disrespect, is like, he's so comically douchey that it's almost funny, right? But with VTubers, I feel like the appeal is more like, I get to be in an episode of K-On! I get to be in an episode of your moe anime here. I mean, not that they're like literally there. I'm not trying to say that anime people want to be in the anime they watch. I think it's just that.
I do.
Oh,
I
okay.
absolutely do.
You do, sure. So I'm not trying to say that they dissociate with with the reality in society. I think it's more that it's such a novel concept. Like, a character like Yui from K-On! Doesn't really exist in real life. I mean, if they do, you're very lucky to have found someone who's just that peppy and happy and energetic, and they're definitely one of a kind. But this VTuber concept has kind of commodified it, where now you don't need to like hope you meet a person that's similar to that. Now you can just find literally dozens, hundreds of these VTubers that kind of fit whatever mold you're looking for, your favorite K-On! Trope, your favorite moe trope, etc.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You got there's more mature girls that are fine to do like the lewd picture ranking or talk about feet quite a bit. And then you have more on the pure side of things. I would say like Korone-chan and her cat girl counterpart, who is now one of my faves, Okayu. Super cute. There's a little something for everyone, as long as you're on that anime baseline.
Yeah, it feels like a way to interact with characters and character tropes that you've become so familiar with in the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. It's almost comforting too, because you are already familiar with like, okay, these are the tropes. This is what I've come to expect. I know what I'm going to kind of get out of it. But also in the sense that, it's hard to escape from controversies on the internet. And I think a lot of what we have to talk about on this show is controversies on the internet. But when you have a persona, when you have basically a fake girl that you're following whose main personality is just, around what her gimmick is and what her stream is about, you don't have to worry as much about like, oh shit, is she gonna get canceled?
Yeah.
Is she gonna say something terrible? And there have been times when VTubers have done controversial things, or controversial things have happened in the VTuber community. And what's different, I think, than the usual like streamer drama then is that sometimes these girls just they just cease to be because of that. They just disappear.
Well, it's so easy to, right? Because their VTuber persona is fake. They're just as easily created as they are deleted.
Yeah, I mean, I think too that you guys bring up a good point, that there's also the aspect of anonymity, right? In this context, where on really both sides, right? Because to your point, Daily, about how it being kind of like a safe bet in terms of controversy, usually you don't. I would see how there wouldn't be as much controversy because a lot of these people are just playing characters, right? But on the flip side too, someone who's a VTuber could technically get away with shit they wouldn't be able to otherwise, because of that anonymity. And so, yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. But I do like the aspect of what you guys were talking about earlier. I do find it really interesting that like anime fans are thinking about this as a way to interact with anime people, more or less, right? It's the only way they're going to be able to interact with an anime character in a sense. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's hard to imagine a lot of controversy in the VTuber space, especially if you just know a little bit about it, is that it's a mix of what you're saying, Colin, with anonymity, but also it's like pro wrestling. Like there's so many pro wrestling storylines that are like, I can't believe you cheated on me. You know, I can't believe you fucked my wife and you're stealing my kids. I remember there was I'm like real talk. Eddie Guerrero, rest in peace. I remember he had this huge feud with Rey Mysterio where he literally wanted to take Rey Mysterio's son. They literally had a match where it was
they fought for custody.
Yes, there was like a ladder
custody cage match.
Yeah, no, it was a ladder match where in the top, like at the center of the ring, up above, like 15 feet, 20 feet above, was the briefcase with the custody papers.
Oh my God.
They wrestled to see who could put a ladder in the middle and climb up and get the briefcase. And, you know, like if that were a real life thing, that would make the news. Two buff men fight each other over a child, right? But this is clearly fake. It's clearly I'm playing along with the fantasy and I'm enjoying the stupidity of it. And
there's
I think
a suspension of disbelief you have to have there that this is not the way our legal system works.
And a suspension of briefcases with legal papers. Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
And, you know, I'm not saying VTubers fight each other over the custody of their children. Maybe
but they should.
do. I mean, maybe they should. But it's that same feeling of you can like watch them interact with each other and insult each other or make jokes about shit, and you don't attribute it too much to a real world consequence.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. I by the way, a side note, I did actually listen to a podcast some years ago with a WWE writer, like a guy that literally writes the storylines. Fucking insane. What a crazy job that is, by the way.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so that is interesting too, because they can manufacture like drama and storylines and these relationships between other VTubers, and there basically can be an entire canon that they can create.
Which there is now.
Yeah,
like living in an anime.
The HoloLive cinematic universe.
Oh my gosh. That's how I came onto the subject, is just seeing like r/HoloLive on the front page of Reddit so often and being like, who are these girls? What manga is this?
Now that you mention
it wasn't a manga.
It's a manga called Real Life.
I have seen that subreddit. That's where I've heard the name HoloLive. That because I didn't put two and two together. I just kind of scrolled past it. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
it's one of the agencies.
So that's something I wanted to ask you guys about is did you find any VTubers that appealed to you that you could see yourself watching?
I'm gonna be honest, like as much as this interests me, I'm not a big streamer person in general. Like I don't really watch a whole lot of Twitch streamers, period. But so with this, it doesn't necessarily appeal to me. I'm sure there's ones that I could find that I could watch and get some sort of enjoyment out of. I think though I always forget her name. The one with the squid hair. She seems like she'd be pretty good.
Ina.
Yeah. But otherwise, like it's not super appealing to me. But I do at least respect it from afar.
You know, I mean, Korone seems fine. Matsuri seems kind of cute and whatever. And she talks about really stupid shit, so I dig that, I guess. But I'm in a similar boat where you know, there's just some of this, the whole community aspect of it is something I really appreciate, but not something I really want to dive into necessarily. Just seems like a lot of work. And like, don't get me wrong, I like wholesome anime shit. I'm watching Horimiya right now. It's fucking chef's kiss, so good.
Ooh, to watch.
Oh yeah, it's great. Just this concept of having to keep up with a fan club kind of vibe is, you know, I've got so much other shit on my plate.
Busy adults.
Mm-hmm.
Can't relate.
Yeah.
Am a neat currently. Therefore, I will be watching. I can see myself watching a lot of Ina's streams. She's one of the English language HoloLive girls, like Colin said, with the squid hair, and she does a lot of art and illustration, which is super neat, and practices Japanese with some of the Japanese HoloLive girls, which is super cool. Very much like the vibes, the taco time vibes. But that said, I think that I would recommend to you two Project Melody for those of you that like shit posting, which you two are some shit posters. I'm going to accuse you of that.
I isn't she like a hentai one though?
Okay, yes and no.
Oh, okay, all right.
Partially, yes.
What are you
partially,
selling
no.
here, Daily? What do you sell? This
Partially,
is a wholesome show,
yes.
Daily.
But I want you to appreciate. I want to tell you guys about. I mentioned earlier, however much effort that you put into this, as far as like art assets and the technology goes, you get back out of it. And wait, no, I'm saying Project Melody when I mean Code Miko.
Oh, okay. But Project Melody is the hentai one.
Project Melody is the hentai one. Do with that information what you wish, dear audience. But I'm going to talk about Code Miko. And she's the more, as far as her vibes go, it's the more traditional, like streaming with your buddies. And her avatar is very much an anime girl, but more like 3D, like newer Final Fantasy-esque. And the cool thing about her is that the technician, as her name is, the person behind Code Miko, she has a $13,000 mocap suit to go along with it. So it's so crazy how animated she is. She's sitting at her desk doing streams, talking to people on one monitor in a 3D space, and she's able to, pick things up. She has a phone that's actually hooked up to her real phone. So like you can see her taking pictures of like the real life space. And chat is displayed on her tits.
Nice. Good.
Which is one of the reasons why she often gets banned. She does some controversial things, but it is incredible, the level of technology that goes into that. And it's super fun, super funny stuff. Code Miko, highly recommend. Yeah. And that's more the indie side of these VTubers. She's just on her own with that $13,000 mocap suit.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I will say too, it is pretty impressive to me, the technological side of this whole operation. Even like the regular VTuber, I think it's a program called Face Rig is what you call what you said, Robert?
Yeah, Face Rig.
Yeah. And the fact that they gotta simultaneously run that, but also play a game and talk to the chat, like that's multitasking like crazy. Like that's already regular Twitch streaming is difficult enough because you got to be on, right? You got to be ready to go, talk to the chat, talk to, accept subs, blah, 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 whatever you're doing, and also play a game at the same time or do whatever you're doing. But then throw in the fact that you got to keep track of this other software and make sure you're like emoting correctly. And it just seems like a lot of work, like a shitload of work. And I'm sure they're doing this for hours at a time. It must be exhausting.
I do wonder if the personality side of it is a little easier. Cause like, if you're just doing like if you're not VTubing, right? Like, I'm Brian at home, but then when I turn on Twitch, I'm Twitch Brian now, bros. Let's play. Let's get excited, right? And, you're putting on a character, but it's not like a whole new character. It's just like you, but twitchier. That's not right. But you, but just a little more upbeat and energetic. So maybe that delineation, I guess, depending on who you are, between where does the real me end and this fun, vibrant, energetic me begin, right? Maybe that's a little harder to find. But when you're a VTuber, I imagine, okay, there's a normal me, I do whatever, and then there's Korone-chan, where I'm a dog girl. Like, I feel like that I wonder if that's easier to dissociate the personality side of it from the real you.
That I would imagine that'd be easier, because one of the things that always comes up with when talking about streamers doing this as a career is that it's like, when do you can't shut off. You just can't. It's there on your social media. It's there, it's your full-time job. You have to put in ridiculous hours. And then even in the times that you are off, oftentimes people feel, bad that they're not on and are getting pressured to be on from outside sources. So to be able to, take off the dog ears and put them down for a while, I'm sure is a lot more healthy of an experience maybe than just doing the regular streaming thing with your own face.
Maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's a little bit easier, like in this context, like we're podcasting, right? And for the most part, we're not really playing characters. We're just kind of giving our point of views on issue A, B, and C. But like Twitch streaming, yeah, absolutely. Or like, especially if you're a big name podcaster or whatever else, you do have to kind of put on an exaggerated version of yourself, or you think about like the normal YouTube vlogger, right? And so there's sort of expectation. You're building up an expectation of yourself, especially if you are someone with a following and you meet fans, right? They expect you to be a certain way. And if you're not, and you're that person that's not putting on, that excitement hat, then they could be disappointed. But that's just not being honest with who you are. Whereas, with these VTubers, it's just like, exactly, you can put the ears on a shelf and forget about it until next time you stream. And nobody has any sort of expectation because everyone during the stream is playing along. And,
right.
It's
kayfabe.
So, yeah. And also, there's also the anonymity section, because I'm sure like not every single VTuber, like people know who the person behind it is necessarily, but
I feel like that's probably a good jumping off point to the controversy side of this. Daily, I think it's time for us to dive into that shit.
Okay, after we just said how uncontroversial this all is, there are inevitably going to be controversies because this is the internet, guys. That's what happens on the internet. I think one of the more mainstream ones, as far as might have hit a blip in the gaming world anyway. So Pokimane, we've mentioned her here. She's one of the biggest female streamers on Twitch, one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, period. And she came out with a VTuber rig, like her own character modeled after herself. And that actually got a lot of backlash. And at the time, I didn't know why. I was very confused. But then when I actually dove into this subject, it turns out that that happened a week after the HoloLive English 5 girls went live. So it felt people were accusing her of, this is already a more niche category that you're, horning in on, maybe clout chasing, getting into, something that you previously wouldn't have given any attention to, except now that it does have attention, you want to get in on that. And that's not cool.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds very much like the whole controversy with celebrities and porn stars making OnlyFans accounts. Right, because they were stealing all of the clout from like smaller content creators on that platform.
The thing, like Bella Thorne broke the terms and conditions, and then they had to rethink the whole thing because she didn't break the terms, but it was like they had a bigger influx of cash than they thought they would, so they changed the whole system, and that was to the disbenefit of smaller creators. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a little bit of an air of using a fad to further your own visions without actually being a fan of it. And, to some extent, I feel like that's something that a lot of people do. And this isn't even just tied to YouTubers and stuff, but I mean, like, just in the journalism world, for example, we write stories because we see a lot of people talking about it. So we jump on that hot, sweet SEO and write stuff and have things in the headlines that would make Google-sama happy so that our stuff gets seen more often.
Fucking Google-sama.
Google-sama, yeah.
SEO-sama.
Yeah. So, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to try to, utilize a fad to further yourself. However, I feel like there are, like, especially the community around VTubers, as an example, they're very passionate, right? It's like, because again, it's something that you need to believe in and pretend you're in the world of. So there's a lot of upfront cost. There's a lot of emotional cost to enjoy a VTuber, to be in the VTuber world. And then to see some rando be like, hey guys, I'm a VTuber now too, because it's cool now. It can feel like that person, like Pokimane, is belittling your community, is just thinking very little of what it really means to be a VTuber. I can see that being insulting if you're someone who's entrenched in, that community.
Yeah. I mean, it also, this kind of sounds like the same conversation we had during our YouTube episode too, about how, these big TV networks and other things like that just kind of came onto YouTube. And now those same channels are getting millions of views, or like late night TV hosts who get millions of subscribers on YouTube. It's kind of the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of just jumping on the bandwagon because that's where everyone has their eyeballs now.
Yeah.
So.
I can totally see where it feels invasive. At the time, though, I was just thinking about how it's like, oh, that'd be a nice break because, you have to have put some effort into your appearance. And that can be hard to do every single day when you're a big time streamer like that. So having a break from being on, like we have mentioned before, and having your face literally on, I think I didn't have any qualms with that. But I'm not sure how to feel about the whole Pokimane thing. Like, was that jumping on the bandwagon? Is jumping on the bandwagon inherently bad? Not really.
Right.
But I do see where the like smaller VTubers could feel attacked, where it's like, I've been working at this for years or, however long, and you just, you already have your success and you jumped on my thing, my niche thing.
Yeah, and I want to say too, like the YouTube thing isn't necessarily a 1-to-1 argument, because it's kind of one of those things where if there's a new big platform, that's where everybody goes. The only chance you're going to have to get views is to go on that platform. It's like, when Facebook took over MySpace and then Twitter took over Facebook, essentially, in terms of like where people were going.
Where the youths are going.
Right. I mean, you have to go where the people are, to be fair. But to Daly's point, I think that's a big sentiment with the whole, like, hey, like, maybe don't jump on my thing, because VTubing isn't necessarily a platform. It's just a type of content.
Yeah, and I also think that with Pokimane specifically, there's a little bit of a difference there in that it's not like there's real life Pokimane and then Pokimane des, like VTuber Pokimane, I'm a new person, right? Like, no, she's still, as far as I'm aware, acting like Pokimane would, just instead of seeing her real life face, you see this avatar that looks a lot like her. And, from that angle, I can respect it, especially because it doesn't seem like she's doing a lot of VTuber-y things. She's just a YouTuber, or I guess a Twitch streamer, using an avatar.
She's playing Rust, as per usual.
Yeah. And I know that sounds like a very minor distinction, but I mean, it's there. And it's something that's happened, well, not happened before, but it's YouTubers and Twitch streamers using avatars isn't anything new necessarily, right? It's just that for this case, she's using an avatar via a software that many VTubers are using as well. So I think that's why it's maybe being attributed so closely, right, to VTubing.
To the contention, yeah. And I mean, she said, in the tweets, it's like, hey guys, I'm a VTuber now and stuff like that. So the identification with the community is there. But again, like you said, Robert, I'm on your page as far as like, it's fine to, hey, I see that this is popular. Or maybe she just even thought it was cool, like herself. Like she was just like, oh, I love this. I want to do this too. And when you're a creator, you're free to do that.
Yeah. And it's so different. Like, if I imagine a world, right, where a lot of major streamers and YouTubers did end up like Jacksepticeye does a VTuber version of himself, and
It's just an
PewDiePie,
eyeball.
yeah, it's just a VTuber thing of himself, right? And even if that proliferated in the community, I don't think from a creative aspect it would even be close to what the current VTuber community is like, because a lot of what this is now is they've created their own characters, and these are all like people you can follow, like whole new characters you can follow. If PewDiePie made an avatar, it'd still be the Nazi loving PewDiePie, like
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna let him forget. It's not gonna change really, other than the fact that he's gonna look more literally animated, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still his voice. It's still, even if it wasn't his voice, even if he got a voiceover so that he did sound like, hey, it's Felix Des, it would still be his opinions and his unique brand of doing things and doing questionable things. But we're not talking about PewDiePie controversy. There's some other issues within the VTuber space, and something I wanted to, I guess, pose to you guys, like, are you at all uncomfortable not knowing who is behind the anime girl?
Not necessarily. In terms of like giving someone like that money, that might be a little bit more hairy, just because it would have to be someone that I've viewed for a while and at least got a good sense of who they are. And even then, I'd be a little unsure. But I mean, the idea of anonymity on the internet is nothing new to me. I mean, even people that do show their face on camera, do you really know them anyway? So it's like, that's not really much of an issue for me.
Yeah, are we all just brains in a jar? No, I'm really comfortable with it. I grew up watching wrestling, so the concept of watching people be bombastic characters and, not really knowing what they're like at home, that's fine. Whatever. I mean, there have been some wrestlers who have come out as very problematic, of course, but like in the VTuber space, it's kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, you're a cute girl dog. Sure. Yep.
Sure. Okay. I will accept this. This is acceptable. This is fine. She should do that. She could make the fire background and just sit in a chair and say, this is fine.
This is fine.
This is fine. I bring that up because there are people that are still kind of uncomfortable with this idea, because they're like, what if it's just like some dude that is like behind this cutesy anime girl? Because there was one case in which someone's software glitched out while they were streaming, and they were going by the name NoraCat as like this kind of gothic Lolita designed anime girl that clearly spoke with a voice changer, but there's a ton of people that speak with voice changers, so it's like, okay, nothing new there. But and it turned out that it was a middle-aged man being NoraCat, which I don't think there's any problem with. I think we all want to be anime girls, regardless of your beliefs. You want to be an anime girl deep down, actually. So, but there was some outcry about that and a lot of uncomfortable feelings about who is this person? I don't actually know this person that is behind the dog girl or the cat girl or the demon girl or the bunny girl. What if they're totally different from what I'm imagining?
Yeah, and that's the tough thing, is when you're confronted with, especially the quote unquote real version of them, and it's drastically different from what you imagine them to be. That can be hard to get over. And that's something I've alluded to with wrestlers. When you find out, in that person's personal life, they beat their wife, it's a lot harder to, root for them in as a wrestler, because you know what they're like as a person. And this, I think, is a similar case where suddenly it's harder to root for the cute goth Lolita girl when you know it's a middle-aged man. Like, you're immediately confronted with the truth, right?
Yeah. I mean, if they're playing a character and that person's not problematic, I guess it's not a big deal. That would just vary person to person whether or not that's a big deal to them, unless they were like trying to pose as a woman behind the scenes too, I guess. But but otherwise, as long as they're not controversial, I don't see why that would be a huge issue if they're just there for the character.
Yeah, that's why some VTuber fans get flack from various communities about like, oh, you don't even know who you're simping after, like,
Right.
You're allowing yourself to be deceived by these people in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
But I think that you've said it pretty succinctly, Robert, in that like it's like we all agree to this. These are the rules. We play along, and we're all okay with that.
Some controversies I ran into, and this is something I think is interesting because I feel like a lot of the VTuber culture is like the evolution. I think it's more an evolution of idol culture than it is anime culture. It's just that anime is the vehicle, right, for a lot of this. But there's one VTuber named Tokoyami Toa who had a male voice appear on her stream for a little bit. And it was really just a Discord call she was in that she didn't mute properly or whatever, so it came out in her stream. And a lot of her fans thought, oh my god, is that her boyfriend? Why is there a dude there? Is she a dude? And they went nuts. Like, they just hated her after that. And that's, if you don't know anything about idol culture, that's very common. We're like, in idol contracts, if you're an idol in Japan, you can't get a boyfriend at all legally, right? Because you have to always appear available to your fans. And this is something I feel like is bled in a little bit to that, where like these VTubers can't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever because they need to be available to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, we see it happening now with streamers like Pokimane or Amaranth. There was like a whole thing where like a mod in like Amaranth chat was like, I've given you like $3,000 and now you tell me that you like have a boyfriend. Like, I feel so betrayed. Like, and it's just, there's this weird expectation there that it's like, you cannot cross that line.
Yeah, I mean, parasocial relationships can easily turn pretty, I guess, toxic, because there are people that just, they get so invested in it that they just think that this person owes them something, or like this is like they're actually, really good friends or what have you. And so with that comes a sense of entitlement. And this is far from the only place where you're going to see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing I came across too is another VTuber named Yozora Mel, which I think is one of the first like really big ones after Kizuna Ai. She was like stalked, harassed. People found out about her personal information and like tried to get closer to her.
Guys, don't fucking do that.
Yeah, don't do that. And also, Daily lives at 123 Liberty Street. Don't do that.
Oh, it's Freedom Street.
Freedom Street. I'm sorry.
It's the one with the bald eagle on the roof.
Yeah. The living one. Take that as you will. If you want to break in, know that there's an eagle there.
Yeah, it's not endangered anymore. In fact, you're in danger. But no, so this is something that also happens in idol culture, right? Stalking, harassment, like it's just so interesting to see how much of that is translated into where there's even less reality to all this. Because like even with an idol, like the idol character that's on the stage or on the screen is probably very different, or at least slightly different from the person that they are in their daily lives, with their family, with their friends, in their private time, right? So to fall in love with that public persona and then try to get in touch with the private persona, that's nothing different. Celebrities and idols deal with that all the time. It's just so weird to me now that there's this extra layer of divorced reality of the public persona is literally a 2D anime girl, and yet you still want to find the 3D real person behind it.
Yeah.
I
mean, I remember reading something about like, it was like on r/waifus or something like that, where it's like, people go to talk about their waifus, and I throw that word around quite a bit, pretty casually, but there's people that take it very seriously, where it's like, so I told, I've been with Princess Peach for about 5 years now, and a buddy of mine sent me a lewd image of her and Bowser, and I can't get it out of my head, and I just feel so betrayed. I assumed she and Mario had a past and everything, but and this isn't me just this is a real thing. This isn't me trying to make fun of them. This is me just like using that as an example of how invested people can become in what they know is totally false as far as reality goes.
Internet is truly a wild place sometimes.
The internet. We love the internet. I think this is where we preach moderation. It is okay to simp after your anime waifus and to watch VTubers and to even give them super chats if you so choose. But leave the real person alone.
Yeah. Actually, I think maybe this is a good question to close on with you guys. So we've talked especially about Pokimane here, but there's also been mentions of Amaranth, where I think in general it's a lot harder to be a woman. Period.
It's hard.
But also on
there we go.
Yeah, but also on the internet, it's a lot harder to be a woman, I think, than a dude. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of weird expectations that are thrust upon you.
Dude, there's a weird, really thick rule book that you're given as soon as your Wi-Fi connects, and it's very cumbersome and it's hard to study.
And you know, I think we've alluded to some of these issues already in this episode, but I'm curious to get you two's take on this. Where do you think maybe part of the reason Pokimane wanted to be a VTuber would be because it's a good way to divorce herself from being an actual woman on the internet? You know what I mean? To have to not deal with as many of those stupid rules and restrictions and expectations and like, oh, what are you, a titty streamer now? You know, etc.
I mean, yeah, I definitely could see like the motivation there. I think it's why you do it is probably going to vary person to person, but I think that could be really appealing to someone who, like, I mean, obviously I'm not a woman on the internet, so I don't know what exactly the experience is like personally, but I've gleaned enough off of secondhand experiences to know that it can be really shitty and really exhausting. And in really bad cases, like, hey, I've changed my fucking phone number like this many times in the past year. I've had to move like 3 times in the past year because I keep getting fucking death threats and rape threats. So, yeah, definitely see the appeal in that aspect for sure.
Yeah. I remember watching a podcast stream episode, something or other, with, I can't remember his name. He has a doctorate, I believe, in psychology. He's a psychiatrist of some sort that talks to like streamers and gamers, does cool stuff. I'll put the actual name in the description. But he was talking with Pokimane about, you know, some of her, you know, problems and the pressures that she feels of streaming. And one of the things is, you know, she's like, you know, sometimes I don't want to do it. And I feel bad because I'm not like grateful to have this position that I'm in, to have this kind of a job where I get to, you know, like talk to people and play video games. But sometimes it's like, you know, you just don't want to do it. You just want to take a break. You just, you know, don't want to, you know, give yourself to your audience all the time. And I think a good buffer would be that, you know, VTuber, that virtual avatar. And, you know, sometimes you need a break. So I definitely see where this could make being a woman on the internet a little bit easier. You know, you're not like literally being picked apart by a million eyeballs on you at all times, because the only thing that's being scrutinized is beautiful artwork. So it's a time. But I think that the more acceptance there is of just people taking, like, doing things where it's like you don't have to focus on someone's physical appearance, the more power to them.
Yeah, and if they need a break, can they just grab a Kit Kat?
Yep.
Yes, sponsored by Kit Kat. Please sponsor us.
And I do want to clarify too, I don't think the solution is all women streamers and content creators should be VTubers. I think the solution should definitely be, we should teach people to treat other humans, but in this case, especially women, with a lot more respect and dignity, because that would just make the world a better place. But, I was thinking about this a bit because with Nega Oryx, I think was her name, the Twitch streamer, she came back in the news recently, but you might know her as that woman who got quote unquote very emotional over the Last of Us, the bunny getting shot.
The bunny, that clip that gets clipped.
The cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
And then it dies. And she's like,
same.
And I thought that was a great clip, just a great showcase of her as a person. And then of course a lot of people twisted that to be like, oh, women so emotional. And then
like
recently
bunnies.
Yeah, and then recently she's been in the news because I think she was just doing a normal stream, and then some dude said something very misogynistic to her, and she just went fucking off on like in Twitch chat, and she just went off like no guards, just fucking like, you're a monster, and when I call you a monster, that forces you to like confront the fact that you're a monster, and you hate it when I do that. So I want you to know you're a fucking monster and misogynist, etc. Like, it was great. And of course now she's getting even more death threats from shitty men, because that's how the internet works. And it's a shame. And I wondered if you were behind a VTuber mask, would that have changed anything? Would people have viewed her less as like a quote unquote emotional woman and more just like cute anime girl, whatever,
Do we allow more humanity to anime girls than we do real women?
Something to think about.
Yeah, this is a really sticky conversation, because this is like, I don't want it to go to that place where it's like, oh, if they don't want to get fucking harassed, then they should just be a VTuber. You know what I'm saying? That's like the same fucking argument. Like, oh, if they didn't want to get raped, they shouldn't have worn that. Like,
exactly. That's why I prefaced it as I don't think that's a solution. I just think it's
no. But
it's just an interesting thought experiment to be like, wow, how can VTubers who are inherently feminine get away with more shit than real women who are real people and real, humans with real emotions?
Yeah.
Right. And I will say, though, just like on the flip side of things, though, I also don't want it to be a thing where it's like women on the internet feel like they're getting harassed so much that their only path is to become a VTuber to prevent that from happening so much. And so that's terrible, because that's just letting harassers win.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Man.
Like,
I didn't see this. I didn't see this conversation happening. But it is something to think about, because we see these patterns, we see this happening, and you don't see it as much in certain communities as in others.
Mm-hmm. Like, I just want to say, I stand with Nega Oryx. I think the way she handled that was, it's the right way to handle it. It's just a shame that right now that the wrong outcome is the more prevalent one, because more people are shitty than they are nice on the internet right now.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, for calling out those people, like, she is getting press for it, and so she's probably going to be making more money.
Yeah, that's true. And, we shouted her out on this, and now her numbers are going to skyrocket.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Hey, thanks. You're welcome, Nega. You're welcome. Just,
that was a freebie. That was a freebie shout out. If any of you ever want us to shout out your usernames and therefore get you hundreds, millions of eyeballs on you, then you can email us at everythinginpod@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
All 62 of our subscribers.
63 now, thank you.
We could do an episode where we just read everyone off.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to thank David Portnow for listening.
Seriously though, yes, we would. Shout out. You're great.
We appreciate you, David.
I also want to thank Tokyo Forever. I remember you from our Tadaima days. Thank you for finding us once more in the deep abyss of the internet. Hope you enjoy.
It'll be listening. It'll be like, I feel so seen.
Mm-hmm.
I always love that when like you pull out like a random name and it's like, wow, everyone named John is going to be like, whoa, they're talking about me in this moment.
Yeah.
But my name's John.
I'm John. I do that.
Like to thank Josh for coming out to the show tonight.
Go Josh.
Love it. I love it.
if I was a VTuber. That's what I would do. Ooh, what would your gimmick be if you were a VTuber? Let's close out on that.
Oh, I already know mine.
God.
We've already talked about this privately.
Oh no.
So in Persona, when you hit a higher, like toward the end game, you run into an enemy persona called Mara. You might also know it as the Dick Chariot or the Penis Chariot, which is just a giant green dick with tentacles on a chariot cart. I don't really know how it moves or really how it does anything, but I want someone to map that to a face rig and just play games or some shit. I don't know.
Would it have to be Persona? Would they need to play Persona? Or
I mean, I feel like that'd be part of the gimmick. You know, Mara plays Persona Part 1, but you know, I'd like to see them branch out.
I feel like, I don't know, I would want to be something like ironic, like a JRPG protagonist type character that fucking hated random battles, but also only played JRPGs. So it's like, fuck this game. I just get so pissed every time there's a battle.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, subverting expectations. I think, gosh, I guess my gimmick would have to be something involved with cats. Maybe I would be my apparently fascist cat, Mr. Gray, because he just looks sad all the time, and that would be my only expression.
Oh.
And I'd only speak in cat.
In ya.
In ya.
Yeah.
In ya, in ya. Or in
God.
Mr. Gray speak, that's eh. That's about all he can manage. Y'all remember? Yeah. Speaking of old, well, I feel old.
Young cat.
But that has been another episode of Everything in Poderation, because the internet can be a little bit much sometimes, and we will tell you to maybe slow down, maybe stop and think. And this is your place to stop and think about VTubers for this episode. Next episode, there will be more stopping and thinking. And anime girls, I assure you, because that is my secret agenda for this podcast, is just getting anime girls into everything. Anime girls are cats.
It's the daily agenda.
It's the daily agenda. And I think I'm succeeding so far. Congrats to me. But if you'd like to congratulate me on achieving my agenda, you can tweet at us at everythinginpod. Like I said, you can email us at everythinginpod@gmail.com, and you can listen to us on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. We will be starting our VTuber careers very soon, and we hope to see you. Watch the Dick Chariot streams.
Oh, I have to make that
Robert.
happen. Shit.
You have to make it happen now.
Yes.
I don't even know how.
Don't forget, if you want to send gifts to Daily, you just send them to 123 Freedom Liberty Street. It's the House of the Bald Eagle on the top. She definitely accepts bald eagle food, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I'm just meat, fish,
Human flesh.
Human flesh.
I love how all of a sudden you're just like a freedom loving fucking just patriot
with my fascist cat.
Probably wears like an American flag tank top during 4th of July.
That's what I'm wearing right now. Can't you see it? Absolutely.
Do you really like Natural Light or Keystone Light or
Natty Light, baby,
or Miller Light or nobody drinks. Does anyone drink Budweiser anymore? Is Budweiser cool? I'm waiting for Budweiser to become the hipster beer, like the new Pabst Blue Ribbon.
New
that could be.
Yeah.
That'll
Anyways,
be my VTuber stream.
Budweiser
needs
guys.
a VTuber. His own strength. Please do that the entire podcast, just as the theatrical track.
It's the music. The soothes.
Listen, I don't own a guitar anymore, so this is my outlet.
So this is the equivalent.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if I'm gonna put this in the show, but if I do, listeners, what do you think that instrument he's playing is? Let us know in the comments below.
Let's hear it. Just shred it real quick.
This is really tough. Like, this isn't easy. I can't. It's too flexible.
Play
That's your
Smoke
hint.
on the Water.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, classic.
Something like
I
that.
see you
Beautiful.
moving it, thinking it's gonna change the pitch. It's not changing the pitch.
No, it's not. It's like over here, like acting like it's a fucking theremin.
If I raise it high enough, something will change.
God, now I'm very curious what people are gonna think this is based on everything we're saying.
Oh.